Hey guys, what's up? It's K-Dog here. We're gonna be doing some stuff on the truck today. So we got current set up here. I have my sx369. Let's see, sx369 73.91 housing, just a single turbo. I have a T3 manifold on here, and the exhaust manifold on the turbo is T4, so I had to make my own adapter for it. So what I ordered finally was a diesel power source. Is this 3-piece T4 exhaust manifold, and so I'm gonna install this on the truck today. I'm hoping for trying to lower my EGTs. My EGTs are a little high. I'm pulling trailer and stuff like that, and my EGTs are like 950. And then if I get on it in any way or go up a little hill, I mean, it goes straight to 1200, trying to tow. And it ain't working. But I do have my secondary turbo on the way, so I will be installing compounds on this within the next week or two. So I'll have videos all on how I'm going to make all the piping and put the compounds in. The turbo I'm getting is a 6268.83 housing on a T4 manifold. So that's why I was also getting the T4 manifold, because I want to be able to get the exhaust out, hopefully cooler, plenty of air. That turbo there is also wastegated, so that's going to help a little bit with spool up when I'm pulling a trailer and stuff. So yeah, we'll get after it here, and we'll show you what she looks like afterwards. Hopefully it's all going to fit correctly with that spacer in there. I got a few things, hopefully it'll fit, and then we'll go take it for a test run and see if we dropped any EGTs at all. Hopefully we do. So here we go. Okay guys, so let's see, we got everything off. Here's our exhaust manifold. I just noticed I had been smelling oil for a long time since I put my valve seals in and I put my 103-pound valve springs in, and I've been smelling oil, and I just thought it was because I leaked a bunch of oil out, but instead, if you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's oil coming out of this valve here, or out of this cylinder I should say, not valve, right here. Got a bunch of oil. I must have a valve leaking, or valve seal must be leaking oil out of there pretty heavily because she's pretty wet in there. So that explains that issue. But anywho, let's take a look at this. See if I can pick this up. There we go. This is what we're working with. Here, I'll spin it around. Here we go. As you can tell, this is what we've got. T3 manifold and a T4. Way bigger. See if I can find a tape measures right here. The hole, your exhaust holes here is 1 inch wide and about 1 3/4 tall. The T4 is 1 3/8 inches wide and 2 inches tall. So you got some good hole openage there, opening there. That looks pretty good. Nice and big. Definitely, you can see the difference in the size. Quite a bit bigger. Very, very nice. So we'll get this back on the truck and slap it all back together, and we'll take it for a spin. See how our EGTs are doing and our spool up. See if hopefully it got better. Hey guys, it's been a couple days now since I did the last videos of pulling everything apart, but now I got it all back together. So I just wanted to do a good comparison. What I have now in the truck is my sx369 73.91 housing, and that is on the T4 exhaust manifold. Before I had it on the T3, and I switched over to T4 now, and I just wanted to check and see how the truck, it sounds different now. I wanted to see what my exhaust gas temperatures was, see if they went down at all, and they definitely did. Cruising at 60 miles an hour, my exhaust temps were anywhere from, well, I guess right around 800 EGTs, I'd say. So, but now, I mean, they're at like 700 or so. I mean, they've dropped a good 100 degrees, I would say, which is awesome. So, let's see here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it at all or not. Maybe you won't. Hopefully you can. EGTs are up in this top corner here. Intake temperature here. Boost pressure. Timing. RPM. And coolant. That the truck seems to run a little bit better too, so I've noticed that a little bit. EGTs have definitely dropped. I also have, here's my I have 2 EGT gauges. I have this gauge right here is measuring right after the turbo. This is the temperature, and then the one on the phone on my right in the exhaust housing where it's supposed to be checked. This one here, this one is a boost gauge, but I actually have it hooked up to as a drive pressure gauge. Which is pretty neat to be able to see that. I'm doing 60 miles an hour right now and holding, so it's about 3 psi of back pressure. And this is my boost gauge, which you can't really see it, but if you look on the phone, it's about 1 psi. My S369 I have on here is really, it is too big as a single, so I'm just doing this video quick. I am gonna go run back to the garage and I am going to put my new S362 362 on. Let's see, it's S362 68.83 housing, which is my new turbo I just got. I'm gonna throw that on as a single. I'm gonna do the same test over again, see what my drive pressure is, what my EGTs are, and see what boost pressures are. I'll do that, and then over the weekend I will put these on as a compound setup and see what those run at. So I just wanted to do a little comparison between a couple turbo setups. I haven't seen very many people do turbo setups on their truck, and so I was gonna do my own. Let's see, settings. Between this whole entire run so far, I haven't gone over 29% max throttle. So I've only given it 29% throttle, and I haven't seen EGTs over 865. Where before, I mean, I would see over 900 on that. So it definitely improved things. But, so yeah, cruising at 60. I mean, here I'm actually cruising at 60 right now. I mean, I'm at 600. Really? Yeah, 600 degrees cruising with a T4 manifold on an S369 73.91 housing, non-waste gated. Only making about 1 pound of boost though. So I'll be back at the shop here in a minute, and we'll get this other turbo switched out and do it again. Hey guys, what's up? Well, it's been a little bit, but we've had some issues going on with the truck. As you can tell, I was testing out the new BorgWarner 62 68 0.83 housing, and my truck died on me. So I was looking, I've got some short issue going on with my injection pump, and it was killing the truck. But as we noticed that, we noticed that the engine was turning over really super hard, and so then we towed it back home. We looked into that, and well, I'll show you the results that we came up with. I had a feeling that this might have been the issue, so we dug into it and we found the issue. And I pulled the oil pan off to look at the connecting rods, and here we go. There's our crank, nice and scored. We had a connecting rod bearing spin on the crank, and I believe that's the only one. So it was all seized up nice and tight in there. As far as I can tell, the other ones are just fine, but I haven't pulled any of them off. So I'm gonna pull the engine out. Let's see where, oh, here they are. you can see that. Nice and burnt. You can even see the color distortion in the cap here. Cap isn't too bad, but it's still not savable. It's got a little gouge in it. So that was on my number 6 cylinder in the back. So now we're going to take her out. And for any of you that don't know how to do that, it's not too hard. So I've pulled it out once before. So as you can tell, we kind of have some of it already done. But if you've never done it before, here you go. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to drain your coolant. You pull it off on the hose right here. Passenger side line, pull that off, drain your coolant. Otherwise, if your truck should have a petcock, they call it, right in here. Turn this little valve, turn it out, and it drains out. That's one way of doing it if you don't want to make a mess. But if you want to get it done right away, real fast, you just undo a hose. Gets her done in a few minutes. Makes a mess though. Second thing, drain your oil. You don't want to do that. If you're not taking the transmission out, I'm going to try and leave the transmission in, jacked up in there. Disconnect the transmission. Obviously this is a manual transmission, so I don't know how this is going to go. Last time I pulled the transmission out first, but obviously since I have the oil pan off, it'll be a little easier because I don't have that big hump in the oil pan to take out or to go over. See, I've got obviously that big hump right there, so since I have the oil pan off, that'll be a lot easier, hopefully anyway. Because you have this right there, this cross member to go over. So since I don't have the oil pan off, the engine should almost slide straight forward, is my hope. But in order to make this easier, drain your coolant, drain your oil, take the valve cover off. I made my own little bracket here to help for when I pull the engine. Instead of having your stock little loop in the back, I got this one here. I made my own, so it brings the hook forward a little bit more. I am going to undo my turbo, undo my line here. I need to do something new with that. Undo your engine mounts, 2 of them, 1 on each side, bolts. And then disconnect your intake air horn. Disconnect the wiring on this side. It's pretty much this side is the only side that's got any wiring, and it's, you know, a half a dozen plugs and a few lines. Nothing too major. It'll take you a little bit. Your batteries, take your batteries out. And so to undo this section, you have this cross member that goes over. You got 3 bolts on each side and a bolt on the back. Undo that, those 3. And then you have this bracket that goes up and around, which goes from here to there and up. Take that off. You will have these long 10mm bolts that go into that bracket through your radiator. Hold your radiator in. You got 4 on each side. Then you have 1 on each side of your intercooler. 1 here, 1 there. Now when you pull all this apart, the intercooler and your radiator are connected, kind of like, well, not connected. They're put together to where you actually kind of have to pull both of them out at the same time, or pull your radiator out by itself. So I'm pretty sure you can do, yeah, you do that. Pull your radiator out first, and then you can pull, or pull them both at the same time. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you got to pull those out. Once you do that, and you've undone your mounts, I'll undo the transmission 6 bolts, 7 bolts, I believe. Undo the couple lines. I am going to try and pick the engine up and undo actually the 4 bolts that hold the engine mount brackets to the block. That way I should be able to literally pull it straight out. It should work. I'm hoping it'll work pretty good. I should be able to get it out so far, then pick it up. Yeah, as long as I can get this transmission to stay where it needs to be, this shouldn't be too bad. Should have it out in a couple hours. But I'll do another video once I get some of this stuff out so you can get a better look and stuff. Okay, so now we got those out of the way. Now we can see a little bit more. see what I got here. Oh, I disconnected the oil feed line for the turbo. Haven't got that out yet. And I'm doing some of the wiring. So you got to pull off 10mm right here. You have your water temperature gauge right up in here. Then you have another bolt right here. And then you have your alternator wire right in here. You have a plug for the alternator on the back. You have this is a negative, I believe, negative side. And then you got another fastener right here. Then you're gonna have to disconnect obviously your injection pump. So you got your cap right here, you have to unplug. This one here, you actually pull this tab out, pull it out, and at the same time you pull the plug too. And then you have your fuel return from the injection pump. You have your injection pump feed, and you've got map sensor and intake air temperature sensor back here. Or intake air temperature sensor, map sensor, yes. Unplug those. For any of you that have your truck is still stock, so it has all the water separator, fuel filter, all that jazz. I don't have that. I got rid of all that, so I don't have that. Obviously you then also have your power steering. You've got 3 lines, I believe, to unhook. 3 lines in the back. You have a ground wire up front here on the corner, and a ground wire back here on the block. And if you have a block heater, you also have to undo that or pull it out with it, one of the two. I am going to be taking the turbo off just to make it a little easier, more room. I have my back pressure sensor, drive pressure sensor gauge here I'm gonna have to undo, and my VGT gauge undo. I would also take out my dipstick before I do anything, and that's where we're at. So I'll get all of that stuff taken care of and we'll come back. Okay, well, a lot's happened since the last clip. Last clip we were taking out just the radiator, and now the whole engine's out and torn down. But that was just because I got my hands all dirty and I wasn't gonna keep picking up the camera. Plus I had a couple friends over and we just decided to hammer it out and get it done. It only took us about, I don't know, 8 hours or so to get it out of the truck. I had some of it done already. But to get it out of the truck, on the engine stand, and torn down in about 8 hours. So it's something you can definitely do in a day. It helps that I've done it once already, so. But anywho, this is what we got. I don't have the crank because I sent it in, but decided not. I called them up today, told them to not work on it. But anywho, that's my bearing. This is the bearing that spun. Here is the cap. I don't know if you can tell. There is definitely some color in it. And on the connecting rods. Otherwise, I don't see anything else wrong as far as I can tell. It still seems a little too tight in the cylinders. So, but anywho, instead of buying a new connecting rod and possibly having to buy another crank, I went on Craigslist, did some looking, and I found a decent deal on a guy that was getting rid of this is a 98 and 24 valve, $350 for cylinder head, injectors, crank, connecting rods, pistons, you know, all that. So I tore it down, and I'm pretty sure it's got less miles than even my engine has, but it turns pretty smooth. Obviously I'm trying to do it with one hand right now, but it is not bad at all. So what the plan is to just take everything out of here. Everything, crank, connecting rods, bearings, just take it all, pistons even, I'm sure they're fine. I had my block checked. It's all within tolerance, so we're good. But I am going to order some new rings. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it here quick. Order some new rings and get them gapped and slap all this straight into my block. This here is a 53 block, so I'm not going to take the chance of it cracking or nothing. Otherwise, yeah, you could simply just throw it in there too, but my block looks okay better. And I'm not going to, I still have some things connected, and I'm not going to disconnect any of those, so there's nothing wrong with my block, and my block isn't a 53, so we're good. But yeah, so I'm also going to look at the cam. If the cam is good, and the lifters, or tappets, sorry, tappets are good, I'm going to swap them too. My cam here is junk, and I don't know why, but she's worn pretty bad in spots, and it's got maybe 5,000 miles on this cam. It's a Hamilton cam, but I don't know, that kind of pissed me off a little bit. $600 cam, and it lasted 5,000 miles. Obviously it must have been something I did, I don't know, but from looking at this cam in here, this cam's better than what's in there, so I'll just swap everything out of here into there. I do have to get a crank sleeve on the front because it's got a pretty good groove. Do that as long as everything goes in there perfectly and rotates nice and easy like it does in here. We're just gonna run it, slap it all back together. I gotta clean this thing up really good, make sure there's no other metal shavings or nothing in it. There was quite a bit of metal shavings in my pan that came out of here, so I gotta clean everything up. There's a few metal shavings even in my head. I don't know if you can see any of it anymore. Just in each one of these little pockets you can see little bits of metal. So I gotta get it all cleaned out. Slap that all on there, and then while the engine is out, this is about the only good thing about this whole thing that happened, is me pulling the whole engine out, is now when I put the head on here, I can mock up for my compound turbos. So it'll be a lot easier to mock up turbos when the engine's out. So got the S362, and then we'll be putting the S369. Mock that up on here, get the piping and everything situated, hopefully pull it all off, slap it in there, back in here. Hopefully then it all fits too, and try this all over again. I still might have a wiring issue going on, but for the moment I'll check back with that once I once I get it all back in there again and see what's going on. But of course, I wish I had some hot water because it's all greasy and dirty in here again. And try and clean this up, but might just have to take some buckets of soapy water or something and splash it around in here. But I had it all clean at one point. So yeah, that's what we're at right now. I'll get back to you once I start putting it back together, or have it back together. We start mocking up for turbos. Let's see what she looks like then. And then once she's back in the truck. Otherwise, yeah, no, this turns really nice. Before, I couldn't even turn my engine over with a breaker bar on it, and me bouncing off the breaker bar, almost bending it. Heck, I even have Fleece Performance. Hey, look at this. This goes right on the crank, right on the end of the crank. Fits a 1/2 inch breaker bar. I broke this just from torquing on it so hard with a breaker bar, and my engine would barely turn over. That's how tight it was. So the fact that I can just turn that by hand, obviously there's no head on it, but still, I could barely turn it over even with the head off of this. But the fact that I can do it like that by hand is awesome. Very awesome. I'm sure I was losing like 50, 60, 70 horsepower. Probably just because the thing was so tight. Hopefully anyway. But like I said, we'll check back once we get this all put together. And we're mocking up turbos. I'll hopefully show you a little bit more on the turbo side of things with the T4 manifold. I didn't put a video clip in of doing the run with the sx362. I did take it out and run it, and the EGTs dropped, you know, the good 150, 200 degrees roughly with this turbo. Cruising at 60 miles an hour. This truck has the NV 5600 6-speed manual transmission with 410 gears. I really want to switch to 355 gears, but that's going to have to wait for now. But cruising at 60 miles an hour, it's about 1900 RPMs roughly. Both these turbos only build about 1 pound of boost. Obviously, though, this one spools up pretty fast compared to that one. But cruising 1 pound of boost. I have my drive pressure gauge right here. It's made a drive pressure gauge. I had a spare boost gauge on my pillar, so I just went right into that. And cruising at 60, I got 1 pound of boost and 4 pounds of back pressure. Now, when I had the big turbo, I had 5 pounds of back pressure, but which was kind of weird. I don't understand why, because that was with the T4 manifold, I'm pretty sure. But when I hammer on it and I build 20 pounds of boost with this thing, it equals out. I mean, as soon as you hammer on it and give it fuel, both drive pressure and boost pressure equals out pretty much right on the button. It's just when you're cruising that for some reason it doesn't equal out. So besides that, I mean, I'm hoping it'll still work together when I put them as compounds. This is a 0.91 housing. I'll probably slap on the 0.10 housing for a bigger housing as the compounds. But yeah, no, this will be fun. Can't wait to have it back together now. Compounds back on it. I don't have any muffler or anything, so this thing's extremely loud with just a single. I mean, like, rattle your windows when you go by loud. Trying to drive it in the morning doesn't work so well. So check back with you later.